Vasishta continued. The infinite consciousness reflects itself as the infinite and unconditioned consciousness in all, and that alone is truly experienced in all. That's what you are. What else can you be? You're conscious. Your consciousness. Only consciousness can be conscious. This is what it all boils down to, or peels back to. That's all that can be doing the experiencing. But when the notion of an object arises, and when that notion is confirmed by repetition, this consciousness manifests as the object, like the dream objects which, though within oneself, appear in that dream to be objects. So let's be careful about manifestation. One of the notions I want to look at in a bit more detail is that of materiality. And whenever we talk about manifestation, we normally talk about something coming into materiality. But dreams are manifestations. There's no coming into reality there. There are dream objects. There are people in our dreams that seem to have lives of their own. So this is consciousness manifesting as dream objects. When a dream object perishes, nothing is lost. When the world or the I is lost, nothing is lost. Because what we've got here are notions. Notions of I, notions of a world. These have arisen in consciousness. Consciousness gets attached to them. One of these notions is the notion of materiality. And consciousness thinks that this is real. Consciousness thinks that materiality is real. This is the problem that the physicists have. On the macroscopic level, there seems to be an awful lot of matter missing. On the microscopic level, on the subatomic level, they can't actually find any explanation for matter. So they spent billions of euros on the Large Hadron Collider trying to find this elusive boson particle, which is supposed to have this field which gives all other particles matter. That's the theory anyway. But they're looking for matter all over the place. Although the physicists realized a long time ago that, in the words of Sir James Jeans, that the universe is more like a giant thought than a giant machine. I'll come back to that shortly. There is no sense even in condemning this world and the ego sense. And this is what often happens in the yogic tradition. The world has to be abandoned, the ego has to be killed or whatever. There's no point in any of that because it's just notions, you let go of them. Who will extol or condemn an hallucination? Investigation alone is appropriate here. What remains is the truth. Remain firmly established in it. Investigation, inquiry. This world appearance is but a notion, and it is utterly dispelled by inquiry. What remains then is Brahman. So this is a word which is used to indicate what is left when you get rid of all notions. So we're not going to get into a notion of Brahman, but we have to use words to talk about such things. And hopefully we can just take Brahman as a pointer to what remains after you've got rid of all your notions, a pointer to you, the essential you, consciousness, infinite consciousness. consciousness which is infinite. To accept the reality of this world appearance is like trusting the words of the barren woman's son. Well, it's like believing that the people in your dream are real, that the conversation you had with somebody in your dream actually took place. Perhaps that person in the dream was somebody you never met before, or perhaps it was somebody from your workplace, for example. When you go to work the next morning, are you going to interact with that person as if that conversation had taken place? It's sometimes a wee bit tricky, actually, especially if you don't know that person very well and you have quite an intimate encounter with them in your dream, and you feel your response or your reaction to them has changed. But it's nothing to do with them, it's only to do with your dream. So you're not quite sure how to proceed. I thought this might be quite a good basis for a story, actually. So the barren woman's son, have a conversation with the barren woman's son, because that's what we're doing all the time. The individual personality is vasana, or mental conditioning, which disappears on investigation. However, in a state of ignorance, when one fails to observe it, this world appearance arises. So we keep getting caught up in our notions. We're attached to our notions. We need to free ourselves from our attachment to the notions that we have. We shouldn't even believe in the notion that everything is notional. It's something we need to realize. Realize how we adhere to the notion of materiality, for example, even when all the evidence suggests otherwise. The body is the result of the permutation and combination of the 5 elements and is inert. Well, we can understand it in terms of the elements of the periodic table. No reason why not. And this is a scientific understanding. Elements are inert. Even the mind, the intellect and the ego sense are also of the same elements. So even the mind is inert. We can say everything is material. And this fits in with what cognitive philosophers seem to believe. I've been reading a book by Andy Clark called An Introduction to the Philosophy of Cognitive Science. It's called Mindware. And there's this passage here on page 4 which I thought was interesting. The animate world, it seems, is a result of nothing but the fancy combination of the same kinds of ingredients and forces responsible for inanimate nature. As it was with the animate, so materialists, which is to say nearly all those working in contemporary cognitive science, the present author included, believe it must be with the mental. The mental world, it is anticipated, must prove to depend on nothing but the fancy combination and organization of ordinary physical states and processes. So there we go. It's a kind of monism which Andy Clark mentioned. They believe that everything is matter, which isn't quite what the physicists believe. So the cognitive scientists seem to be about 100 years behind. Now, I was relating this passage to the Yoga Vasishta. The Yoga Vasishta is saying that everything, including the mind, is material. But the approach then is different. Realizing that everything is material, we can abandon it. Whereas the cognitive scientists can't abandon it. What they do is they try and explain consciousness in terms of materiality. So this is where Yoga Vasishta and cognitive science differs. When one is able to abandon the inert materiality of the mind, the intellect and the ego sense, one attains the pure unconditioned being. This is liberation.